Title: My wife talks in her sleep. But last night, she told me something that made me leave the house immediately. My wife, Emily, has always been a sleep talker. It used to be cute. She'd mumble nonsense about grocery lists, old childhood memories, or things she'd watched on TV. Sometimes, she even laughed in her sleep. But last night, she said something that made my blood run cold. It was around 2:30 a.m. when I woke up to her whispering. At first, I thought she was just mumbling again. But something about her voice was different. It wasn't groggy or tired. It was clear. Focused. "She's in the closet," Emily whispered. I turned over, expecting to see her eyes closed, lost in some dream. Instead, her eyes were wide open, staring at the ceiling. The way the moonlight hit her face made her look almost wrong. Like she wasn't my wife. "What?" I asked, my voice barely above a breath. Emily turned her head toward me, but something about the way she moved sent a sickening shiver down my spine. It was too smooth, too slow. Like she was being controlled. "She's in the closet," she repeated. This time, her lips didn't move. I sat up, my heartbeat thudding against my ribs. I glanced at the closet door, which was slightly ajar. A sliver of darkness stared back at me. I could have sworn I closed it before bed. "Who's in the closet?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Emily's mouth curled into a smile, but her eyes, they stayed blank. "You don't see her?" A wave of cold air brushed against my skin. The kind that makes your instincts scream run. I reached for my phone and turned on the flashlight, pointing it at the closet. The light barely pierced the darkness inside. That's when I heard it. A creaking sound, like someone shifting their weight on the floorboards. I swear to God, I saw fingers curling around the edge of the door. Long. Pale. Unmoving. I grabbed Emily's wrist, shaking her. "Wake up." She didn't respond. She just kept smiling. Then, she said something that made my entire body go numb. She said, "You can't leave." I don't remember grabbing my keys. I don't remember how I got out of the house. All I know is that I didn't stop driving until I saw the sunrise. I called my brother and told him I needed a place to crash. I didn't tell him why. That was last night. Now, as I sit in my car outside our house, I feel like I'm being watched. The blinds in our bedroom are slightly open, and I can see Emily standing there, completely still, staring down at me. She hasn't moved in over an hour. And I just got a text from her phone. "Come back inside." She says she's sorry. I stared at the text, my fingers trembling as they hovered over the screen. My mind screamed at me not to reply. Not to go back inside. But a part of me, some foolish, desperate part, wanted to believe it was still my wife texting me. I forced myself to think logically. If Emily was really awake now, wouldn't she have called? Wouldn't she have sent another message, asking where I had gone? But there was nothing. Just that one chilling text. I gripped my phone, my heart pounding in my chest. I needed to do something. Call the police? Tell them my wife had said something creepy in her sleep and that I thought something was in my closet? They'd think I was crazy. Instead, I did the only thing that made sense. I called Emily. The phone rang once. Twice. 3 times. Then, it stopped. But she didn't pick up. Instead, a whisper came through the speaker. Not Emily's voice. It was soft, broken, and wrong. She says you have to come back. She's waiting. I nearly dropped my phone. My breath came in short gasps, my vision tunneling as sheer terror gripped me. This wasn't a prank. This wasn't some weird sleep disorder. Something was in my house. I forced myself to start the car, my only thought being get out of here now. But as I reached for the gear shift, I noticed something in the mirror. The front door was open. And Emily was standing in the doorway. Even from a distance, I could tell something was off. She wasn't moving. Not even shifting her weight or blinking. Just standing there. Watching. Then, she did something that made my stomach twist. She lifted her hand and beckoned me inside. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. And then, the closet door in our bedroom, the one upstairs, slammed shut. The sound shattered the silence, and suddenly, Emily twitched, like a puppet being yanked by invisible strings. Her head jerked slightly to the side, her limbs stiff as she stepped forward onto the porch. "Come back inside," she called, but her voice was wrong. It had an echo, a distortion, like 2 people speaking at once. I put the car in reverse and floored it. I didn't stop until I was miles away. I spent the rest of the morning at my brother's place, pacing and trying to piece together what the hell was happening. Around noon, I finally worked up the nerve to check our home security cameras through my phone app. The footage made me sick. At 3:07 a.m., just minutes after I left, the bedroom closet door opened by itself. Slowly. Deliberately. Something crawled out. I could only see it for a moment, something tall, hunched, with limbs that bent the wrong way. It moved toward the bed, and then the footage glitched. When it came back, Emily was standing up, staring at the camera with wide, empty eyes. Then, she turned and walked out of the bedroom. Straight down the stairs. Straight to the front door. And she stood there. For 4 hours. Waiting. I couldn't go back. I knew that. But I also knew I couldn't just leave her. If that thing was inside our house, it hit her now. So, I did something reckless. Something stupid. I called Emily's mother and asked if she had spoken to her today. She hesitated. No, why? I swallowed. I think something's wrong. Have you tried calling her? There was a pause. Then, her mother spoke again, her voice quiet. Sweetie. Emily has been staying here since last night. She showed up around 4 in the morning, said she had a horrible nightmare and didn't want to be alone. I felt my stomach drop. No, I whispered. That's not possible. Another pause. Why? What's going on? I couldn't answer. Because if Emily was at her mother's house, then who the hell was standing in my doorway last night? I never went back to that house. I had my brother meet me there during the day so I could grab my essentials. The house felt empty, lifeless. But I could feel it, watching, waiting. The closet door was open again, and the air inside smelled rotten. We left in under 10 minutes. I never even looked inside. I don't know what was in that house. I don't know what crawled out of my closet or why I took my wife's form. But I do know one thing. When I checked the security footage one last time, just before canceling the service, I saw something that still haunts me. The night after I left, the front door opened again. And someone walked out. Not Emily. Not me. But something that looked just like me. And it's still out there. I didn't sleep that night. I barely blinked. My brother kept asking me what was wrong, why I looked like I'd seen a ghost. I couldn't answer him. Because this was worse than a ghost. Something had crawled out of my closet. Something had taken Emily's form. And now, something had taken mine. I kept watching the security footage over and over, hoping I was seeing things wrong. But it was clear. The thing that stepped out of my house looked exactly like me. Same height, same clothes, even the way I walked. But something was just off. Like it was mimicking me, but not perfectly. The way its head moved, how it scanned the street like it was searching for something, no, someone. And then I realized. It was looking for me. I didn't go to work the next day. Hell, I didn't leave my brother's house at all. But by the afternoon, I started to feel stupid. Maybe I had imagined it. Maybe I had just been exhausted, half dreaming, hallucinating in my panic. So, I did something reckless. I drove back to my house. Not inside. Just close enough to watch. My stomach twisted as I pulled up to the curb. The front door was closed now, like nothing had ever happened. My bedroom window, the one Emily had been standing in the night before, was shut. Curtains drawn. But then, I saw something that nearly made me vomit. There was a car in the driveway. My car. I checked my keys, gripping them so hard my knuckles went white. My car was right here, parked at my brother's house. And yet, an exact copy sat in my driveway. Same make. Same model. Even the same dent on the back bumper. And then, the front door opened. A man stepped out. He looked exactly like me. I don't mean he resembled me, or that we had the same features. No, he was me. Down to the smallest detail. Same clothes. Same haircut. Even the same nervous way I rub my thumb against my palm when I'm anxious. And then, he smiled at me. A slow, knowing smile. Like he had been waiting for me to come back. I floored it. I drove straight to Emily's mother's house, my hands shaking so badly I could barely keep the wheel steady. The whole time, I kept expecting to see headlights behind me, my double chasing me down. By the time I arrived, Emily was already waiting outside. Her face was pale, her arms wrapped around herself. The moment I stepped out of the car, she ran to me, throwing her arms around me. "I thought you were dead," she whispered. "I kept calling, but your phone was off." I hadn't even noticed. My phone was dead. Emily pulled back, her eyes scanning me with fear. "What happened? What the hell is going on?" I took a shaky breath. "There's something in our house." She stiffened. "I told you, I felt it. I felt something watching me all night. That's why I left." I nodded. "It took your shape." Her face drained of color. "And now?" My throat felt dry. "Now it took mine." Emily's mother let me stay the night, but I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw him. My other self. That thing wearing my skin, smiling at me like it already knew how this would end. By morning, I had made up my mind. I needed to go back. Not alone. I called a friend of mine, Ben, who worked as a private investigator. He owed me a favor, and after a lot of convincing, and showing him the security footage, he agreed to come with me. We armed ourselves. Ben had a handgun. I carried a baseball bat. It felt stupid, but I needed something. We arrived at the house around noon. Broad daylight. Somehow, that made it worse. Everything looked normal. My car, the fake one, was gone. The house sat there, still and quiet, like it had never been touched. But the moment we stepped onto the porch, the air changed. It felt heavier. Thicker. Like the house was breathing. Ben motioned for me to stay behind him as he pushed the door open. Inside, nothing was out of place. The furniture was where I had left it. No signs of a break-in. It smelled the same, like home. And yet, it wasn't. Something wasn't right. Ben moved forward, gun raised, as I followed behind. We checked the kitchen, the living room, the hallway. Everything was silent. Then, we reached the bedroom. The closet door was open. I swallowed hard. My hands felt ice cold. Ben stepped forward, peering inside. At first, I thought it was empty. Just a regular closet full of clothes. But then, I noticed something in the corner. A hole. A deep, dark hole in the back wall, like something had dug through the house itself. And from inside that hole, something moved. Something crawled forward. Ben barely had time to react before a hand shot out. Long, pale fingers wrapped around his ankle, yanking him toward the darkness. He shouted, trying to pull back, but it was strong. Unnaturally strong. I lunged forward, grabbing Ben by the arms, pulling as hard as I could. For a moment, I saw it, the thing inside the hole. A face. My face. But wrong. The skin was too smooth, too stretched, the mouth too wide. And the eyes. Completely black. It grinned at me. And then, it let go. Ben stumbled back, gasping. I grabbed him, hauling him out of the room. We ran. We didn't stop until we were outside, gasping for air. The front door slammed shut behind us. Ben turned to me, his face pale. "What the fuck was that?" I shook my head. "I don't know." We never went back. I sold the house a month later. Never stepped foot inside again. The new owners? I never met them. I didn't want to. Emily and I moved to a different state, started over. She still has nightmares. So do I. Sometimes, in the middle of the night, I wake up and see her sitting up in bed. Eyes wide, breath shallow. And then she whispers, "It found us." And I know. This isn't over.